It is nearly 3 miles long, more than 2 meters high, and wide enough for cars to drive here. If anyone wondered what Hamas did with the giant funds provided every month, this is the answer.
This tunnel had every infrastructure needed: cement, electricity, water, and also various hiding places for weapons, meaning it was ready for use. And the shaft that is very close to the Israeli border, roughly 400 meters or so, a quarter of a mile from the Israeli base of Erez, less than 2 minutes, and the terrorists are already in Israeli territory.
It's the biggest tunnel found in Gaza so far. Hundreds of terrorists could come to this point practically undetected.
This tunnel runs for miles and miles into Gaza, into towns like Bet Hanun, Bet Lahiya, 2 or 3 miles inland. The terrorists come all the way up here, and then the shaft being on the other side. Once they come up to the ground, they're merely 400 meters or a quarter of a mile away from the Erez, crossing the Erez base.
Just before the tunnel is demolished, the IDF showed us what the money envelopes from Qatar are really used for.
Hamas, as a terror organization, showed his face using his money only for terror. All of his investment only for terror, not for the civilians of Gaza. He doesn't care about the civilians of Gaza. They're only being used for one thing: for being a human shield.
The tragedy that Hamas is putting its own people in does not end there. The Erez crossing was the place through which 17,000 workers from Gaza crossed in every day to work in Israel and earn wages far higher than they could in Gaza. The adjacent Erez base was built only to allow for humanitarian cases from Gaza to be treated in Israel, but these were exactly the targets Hamas was looking for.
We saw what happens in the tunnel inside. Now let's see what happens outside. Right behind me is the shaft. From here the terrorists come to the ground, and just to my left, about 400 meters, a quarter of a mile, you see the concrete wall. That is the Israeli border. That is the Israeli base of Erez. You can see it right over there. Nothing more than a 2-minute run, and the terrorists are already there. That is all it took them to get from this position and into Israel.
And in a war so full of terrible symbols, here's another one. 3 soldiers were kidnapped from the Erez base. On the day the tunnel was unveiled, 2 of those soldiers were pronounced dead.
2 of my soldiers that were kidnapped alive from this base on the 7th of October was murdered by Hamas militants while were in captive inside the Gaza Strip. So for me personally and for my unit, it's a very complicated day.
Every corner of the Erez crossing and the Erez base serve as a reminder of what happened here on that terrible morning. Just a few hundred meters away, the mission ahead is clear.
Without demolishing the tunnel project of Hamas, we cannot demolish Hamas.
This may be the largest tunnel in Gaza, or at least the largest one uncovered so far, but many, many other small ones exist all across the Gaza border. This is where the hostages were taken deep into Gaza, and from there disappearing all across the Strip. Israel, among other missions, now needs to destroy all of these tunnels to make sure that such a thing never, ever happens again. Jonathan Regev, I-24 News.